right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all honor, glory, and praises due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakwadash. Also, I want to give double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone who's teaching the truth and sincerity, and also who rule well. Peace and salutations to the hopeful elect that scattered four corners of the earth, which is so-called Negroes, Latino, Hispanics, Native American Indians. You know, the true Israelites that's coming out, the elect nation of Israel. That's coming out, that the Lord is dealing with and only dealing with in no other nation. Okay, this is Brother Yuwanathan from GMS Detroit. And this is just going to be, touching on just various topics, man, because a lot of stuff has been popping off, man. And, just from the aspects of these other countries going through what they're going through. Again, the guerrilla Hebrew, these bug outs and false prophets, we can see when you read the book of Matthew, the 24th chapter, you see a lot of prophecies popping off, since the pestilences, earthquakes in diverse places, because there's been earthquakes that's been happening in these other regions too, and at a higher scale. And that's the point. I'm gonna label this. Things are popping off at a higher scale. I didn't have nothing. I didn't plan. I just turned the camera on and just wanted to preach. We see, the IUIC, going in or going back and forth with some YNs, and the elder Manata Zagba was like, this is the real, spiritual warfare. We saw documents and videos of vlogs of Guerrilla Hebrew's woman, and I was just thinking like, yo, that's a perfect example of Romans, the second chapter, especially in the first verses, the upper verses, because you get into the vibration of a hypocrite, man. It's so much, it's to a point that the scriptures is all getting tackled on. Like I said, with the war going on, and being a man of GMS, the sincere that follows the vibrations of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, the scriptures say, roughly paraphrasing, Satan divided against Satan. How can this kingdom stand? Because you're going to see these other nations, like Russia, America, still under the vibrations of Edom. You're going to see war. You're going to see a greater vibration of this kingdom falling. And that's what it goes to show, that the Lord is right. Because you get into Amos 3:3, can two or three walk together? Or two or three walk together. Golly, yeah, slocky. A little brain fog. Can two or three walk together? God, no. Can two or three walk together lest they be agreed? Roughly paraphrasing, if I said that right. But the answer is no. That's why, you got to be on one accord. When you don't come into agreements of anything, it's going to end up in conflict, Like, for a while back, we had, I think it was IUIC and the Nation of Islam. That don't make sense. You're serving, and that's a big disrespect to the Lord, man. tells you not to serve no other gods, and you sit, hand joining hand with a movement and also a deity, a false deity that has nothing to do with you. Just because these so-called individuals might be Israelites that's worshiping another god, if they don't come to the Most High, man, don't deal with them. I mean, you can try to wake them up, but if not, then just leave them be. And what? Listen, man, we still got the curses, man. Deuteronomy, because back then they tried to, this to community, man, we still under the curses. And then you got the gorilla Hebrew and his so-called wife, doing what she was doing, what she was going off completely. But, Alizé, whatever you want to call him, he don't believe in the writings of Paul. You get into Timothy, it tells you, basically let your woman learn in silence. Don't usurp authority. And here she's going, just spilling the tea. That's why I was getting into Romans, the 2nd chapter, because, most they were giving him, and I'm talking about the men, not me personally. I mean, we do correct them and do videos on them, but they was giving him correction, and they were doing it on a spiritual level, you shouldn't have long hair, don't be preaching with your hat on, so on and so forth. But he didn't like the instruction. And that's why you get into Romans 10 and 2, I believe, where it tells you they have a zeal of the Lord, but not according to knowledge. And then you get into Titus, I believe 1:16. They profess the name of the Lord, but their works are reprobates, man. Because in this truth, you got to go through correction, man. That's why we have elders and apostles, because they have the experience of what they go through to teach us to do better. That's why the scriptures, 1 Timothy 5:17, it tells you, count your, roughly paraphrasing, and I'm going to do that a lot, just because I don't have my scriptures on me. This is all through the Spirit that I want to do. Count your elders double honors. Those are the true prophets. Because when you get in the scriptures, like Jeremiah, the 14th chapter, 14 and 14 actually, it basically gives you a rundown of the false prophets giving, false visions, false divinations. And then you got the one in Ezekiel, and I always get them mixed up. I believe it's, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it's 33 and 33. If these things come to pass, you had a prophet amongst you, lo, basically the real prophets. And you see them in the GMS, we just come out the scriptures, and they come to pass. We see it. We're seeing them clear as day. That's why we out there on the highways and byways. We are protected, in the Psalms, 91. This, we're covered by the shadows of the Most High, because we have that wisdom, knowledge, and understanding in preaching the scriptures the correct way. Okay? And I'm going to do a part 2, but this is just on my live. I was just thinking about this, just watching everything go from, the tariffs and seeing how things are going to spark up to the war. You know, the what's the word I want to look for? When things get when things get more higher up in prices, you know, you see these false prophets getting exposed. You're seeing this at a higher vibration, man. My point is, man, it's to a point where we're coming into the time of Jacob's trouble, but so on and so forth. And to the point is that we're almost out of here, man. This is clear as day. If the Most High just opens your eyes. See with my glasses. But, you know, nevertheless, I hope this video is edifying. Again, I'm going to give all honor, glory, and praise is due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Kakwadash. And again, double honors to the elders and the apostles that great men stone. Teaching this truth and sincerity. And also who rule well. Peace and salutation to the whole full elect. And to close out, say shalom. And on to the next lesson.